All right, I wish to call to order the December the 16th, 2025 regular meeting of the Cook County Grand Marais Joint Economic Development Authority at 4:04 p.m. Commissioners present include Clissold, Benson, Mills, Hedstrom. Joining remotely are Commissioners Anderson and Bibi Gudice. All right, first item is approval of the agenda. The agenda was provided to commissioners in advance of the meeting. Is there a request for any changes from anybody?
I have a request, Mr. President.
Please.
Maybe under discussion or wherever you see appropriate, just adding a brief segment for the Small Business Development Center consultants.
Sure. We'll add that to committee and commissioner reports.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to suggest a change, and that is that we move item 6C to the end of the meeting so that we can end with a bang and it's not just locked into the middle of the agenda. If that's okay with everybody?
It's a wonderful idea.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Is there a second? Okay. We'll do a roll call as we need to with the remote attendees. So I'll call out your name and please indicate your vote. Anderson?
Aye.
Benson?
Aye.
Mills?
Aye.
Bibi Gudice?
Aye.
Hedstrom?
Aye.
Shackleton?
Aye.
Clissold is an aye. Agenda is approved. All right, this is our time for public comments. If there's anyone in the audience that wishes to come up for a few minutes and speak, especially on items that aren't on today's agenda, this is the time to do so. Okay, seeing none, we'll close public comments. We'll move on to approval of the meeting minutes. This regards the meeting minutes from November the 18th, 2025. They were provided in your packet, pages 1 through 4. Any changes or points of discussion?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Anderson?
Yes.
I'm doing a roll call vote for the meeting minutes.
Yes, sir. Yes, aye.
Thanks. Mills?
Aye.
Bibi Gudice?
Aye.
Hedstrom?
Aye.
Shackleton?
Aye.
Clissold is an aye. Okay, meeting minutes are approved.
Skip Benson.
Did I say Benson? I didn't say Benson. Tracy,
Aye.
what's your vote? Thank you. Review of financials. You'll find the balance sheets in pages 5 through 8. The bill approvals, which we vote on, page 9, and Superior National 10 through 14. Although not a discussion item, there's also the latest on the Business Development Grant Fund. Money's in and money's out on page 15. Commissioner Shackleton?
Yeah, the EDA balance sheet as of today is a little higher because we received our second levy payment from the county, so we're standing at $470,000 in the bank account as of today. So expenses through November 30th are tracking really well with budget, so there's really nothing that's standing out or out of the ordinary. If anyone has any questions on the EDA financials, I'll move on to the golf course.
Please.
Okay, so the Spirit National Golf Course, it's November's slow month, nothing really much happens, there's just some clubhouse activity, but not much else other than that, so it's gonna track the year, finish the year very close to what we had last year, so that's good. Our cash position is $200,000 lower than it was last year, which is a concern. Hopefully the little course sells sometime in March, and we won't have any issues there, but we'll have to monitor that closely to make sure we get there to a closing date in March without too much trouble. Anybody have any questions concerning the golf course financials?
No, seeing none.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So is there anything we can do besides monitor?
Well, I was, I can monitor, there's not a lot of cash flow this
Yeah.
time of year, so there's not much we can really do, and we
Yeah.
can hold back
Yeah.
some payables, but it's not gonna make much of a difference.
Yeah.
So what I would recommend is that we don't, as EDA, go cut checks for large amounts in the next few months. We should just kind of be prudent,
Okay.
and just in case we need to move some money from the EDA account to the golf course account before closing. That's what I would
Okay,
suggest.
thank you.
Any other questions?
When will you do a audit? Does that happen at year end or what? I mean, inventory, excuse me, inventory.
Inventory, yeah, they'll be doing that year end. The merchandising numbers right now aren't, I don't trust them so much. I mean, I'm gonna do a personal audit of the invoices that we had out here, because it wasn't looking really accurate to me. So I requested some invoices that we're gonna go through for the year, but it's sitting, inventory is sitting at around $50,000 for merchandise. Yeah, food and beverage, another 10. And so that's kind of where we're at right now. I don't think it'd be a large difference, after an audit, but it's kind of sitting there.
Well, it would be 100% difference, it might be 20% difference.
Yeah, I could see a $20,000 movement, if you get in there and actually put eyeballs and stuff and,
Sure.
check mark every invoice. You might clean it up and find another 20,000 here.
Yeah.
That'd be about it though. I'm ordinary.
Okay, so with that, we'll accept and forward to audit the balance sheet for November the 30th, 2025, for both EDA and Superior National. Is there a motion to approve the November 2025 payments?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. We'll do a roll call. Anderson?
Aye.
Benson?
Aye.
Mills?
Aye.
E.B. Gudice?
Aye.
Hedstrom?
Aye.
Shackleton?
I,
Clissold is an aye. Approved. That takes us then on to item number 6. We've got several new business items. The first being Resolution 2025-45, and this regards the assisted living market study. I'd like to invite HRA Executive Director Jeff Brand up. You'll find the information included in your packets, pages 16 through 23. And without stealing too much thunder, this is an ask that we split the cost of a updated market study. It's been 10 years, I believe, with the HRA. So, Jeff?
Yeah, so a little bit of history. In 2015, your organization paid for a study, the market demand analysis for assisted living for Cook County. And in 2016, the results came back, and those results were used to judge that there was an opportunity for Cook County, for Grand Marais, for the area, to have some assisted living in the community. And so I believe there had been 2 previous iterations of assisted living, one in the Birch Grove area by Tofty Township in the west end, and 2 separate conversations and 2 separate opportunities that didn't go too far for Grand Marais. So we're talking about perhaps the 4th or 5th opportunity if we were to do a market demand analysis in 2026. I think a lot of the conversation is that the assumption is, well, we need to have something like that. But in order for us to actually have a data-driven conversation that will provide a result that we can again go out and have conversations with lenders, go out and have conversations with developers, go out and have conversations with the people that we need to in order to attract assisted living for Cook County, we kind of have to do some homework first. And the homework first is to have this market analysis conducted, and the results will be either yes or no. It'll be an opportunity for us to have a continued conversation about assisted living and elder housing opportunities for Cook County. And I believe that a clear and data-driven conversation is exactly how we protect public assets and public money. And of course, in something like this, there will be some sort of financial inclusion from the public, I'm sure of it, to make it affordable. And so with that, I'm asking to share the cost of the $14,500 study. This, the scope of services on page 3, I guess, the middle page of the 5-page document that I provided you, kind of talks about the scope of services. What it does not include is an opportunity for community engagement. I think that's okay for now because in relative terms, if the findings so that we don't have the capabilities of having assisted living for whatever reason, I'll go over that in just a second, a phase 2 would not take place. And a phase 2, in my mind, would be that community engagement because I think it's really important to have those conversations. Other organizations like Care Partners here in Cook County have done a lot of that community engagement in the past already, and so we do have some of that relative information that we can use. But I still think it's worth having some refreshed conversation. You know, in the end, there are a lot of factors that might play into this not being a capable opportunity in the community. For one, it could be cost. It could be too costly. It could be that the regulatory environment is changed significantly, and yes, it has since 2019. At the legislature in Minnesota, we changed to a universal licensure, for instance. What it did was unintended consequences of that were it became less flexible and it did cost more to operate an assisted living. That's something that the old study wouldn't even have taken into consideration because, of course, that's a current event that happened afterwards. And then also, you know, just the cost of inflation, things of that nature. A study will provide opportunities. We did have some conversation in our previous HRA committee meeting, business meeting in November, about what a study would look like and what it would say and that sort of thing. And I think a study like this is going to give us a lot of good insights. Things like geographic leakage. Why are people really leaving here? Well, number one, we don't have assisted living, right? But also things like there's medical centers in Rochester, or my family lives in Aurora, or Bemidji is the place where I've always wanted to live, and now it's time to go there. That's the geographic leakage conversation. There's availability for substitutes, and so, well, what does Cook County have that might be an available substitute? Maybe it's the location close to Silver Bay, or wherever the case may be. Affordability gap is always going to be a conversation that we're going to need to know more about. And so for those reasons and a lot more, this study gets us, the tracks will be laid to eventually get to a train coming to our community, so to speak. That's kind of been my metaphor in this conversation in the past, and I think it's an apt one because at the end of the day, there's a lot of work involved in creating something like this. And I think for us to get there, we have to start by laying that track. And I'm here to answer any questions.
I would move the resolution, put it on the table.
I have a question.
Oh, okay, support.
So it's moved and seconded, open for discussion. Commissioner Anderson?
Yeah, I was in favor of this when I read it in the minutes, but your clarification here gave me some pause. I wonder about, the public engagement part seems critical to answer the type of questions that you raise, and it seems to me like a lot of the information that would otherwise be needed could be gleaned for free by engaging the Minnesota demographic specialist in Duluth, who already has extensive material about this topic, and I was trying to find his name here.
Carson?
Peter remembered his name.
Carson Gorky?
Yeah, Carson, yeah.
Yeah, yep. So Carson's actually going to be a special guest in the next edition of the January edition of the HRA meeting. And we're going to be having that conversation. I've also invited him to perhaps give a talk in the community at some venue. I'm trying to find another venue so we could maybe do 2 for 1 since he's going to be here all day. But very good point. There's a lot of good information there, and I'm hoping that he'll give us a lot of that information in a way that we can digest it too as well.
So, more background, this is an update of a winter study done, like Jeff said, back a few years ago, which got us to a developer, we got to plans, we even brought a request for tax abatement to the city and the county, and two things kind of combined to knock that project off the tracks, and one was, if you were at the legislature at the time, you're responsible, but legislature, because of some investigative reporting from the Minneapolis newspaper, seemed to expose bad acting in assisted living facilities. The legislature then went through a couple-year process of reviewing and rewriting the rules on care centers. Nobody is gonna develop a project with all that up in the air, and so they kind of bailed on it. The second thing is they looked around and said, gee, where's our staff gonna live? And of course, there wasn't any place. Now, and I've been a proponent of pushing this along. What's changed now is we have apartment facility called Gunnison View, 56 units. We have a pending opening of an apartment called the Heights. So all of a sudden, we'll have availability of housing for the kind of staff that would staff an assisted living facility. So for all the reasons that I was in favor of this years ago, I'm still in favor. I would push for our participation in helping this. And to answer Siri, when you go to developer, it's sort of like you got to have the not the whiffly smarter than public comment. They're not, but when you go to a developer, they have to have that document done by a professional, accredited outfit. So, I mean, for that alone, and they do it, put it in a format that developers like, and they have ways to pull all the data together. So, for all those reasons, I'm in favor of this.
And Jeff, can you describe what phase 2 would look like again, and then would there be a cost to start phase 2?
Yeah, so phase 2 would be community engagement, going in the community and having conversations with folks, having conversations with the key partners that are involved in this as well, stakeholders, and I think that that's really important. There will be an additional cost to that, and so that's something to talk about later. But if this proves out, if it doesn't prove out in the report, then then it's us saving money on phase 2. I'm really hopeful that we get to the point where we're talking about phase 2 and having that engagement with the community, because I think that's really important to find out what the services are, what the needs are, where, all those questions.
What was the timeline for this? Let's say this goes, how long would it be completed, phase 1 then?
It'll be in the midpoint of, so sometime in the summer of 2026.
Okay.
Oh, this coming summer, right? Yeah. There's the one, what page am I on? Under scope of services, data will be evaluated for 2025 to 2030, so
Yeah.
I'm assuming they're just projecting out,
Yep.
right, on
Yep.
that.
That'll give this a lifespan of 5 years, so we can kind of,
Yeah.
nothing happens overnight, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, this is wonderful, but I think for me, it's that second phase that's really important, because a lot of this stats and numbers may not play out just the nature of who we are and the size of our community, but that doesn't make the need very real. And to really understand, like you started your conversation, what do people want to be here, or why they leave, or whatever. You really need to hear that. We hear it anecdotally, but we need it all captured, I think, to be effective. And we may have to go a different route because economics around us may not make sense, but that doesn't mean we wouldn't try to move something forward.
Fair.
Just wouldn't want to rely on that. I kind of wish we could do it all, I guess, together, which
Is what I'm saying too.
which I'm sure you would do anyways. But I had another nice in-person meeting with one of the State Department heads, Carla, yesterday, And she just reminded me one more time that we should be always looking, around here we don't have the people to look for grants and money for whatever it is we're up to. So we spent time looking to see what grants there might be to help fund even this part, this project search. And she reminded me that there's a great database at the U of M that we should be looking, and she sends out whatever. You're more familiar than even I am on how that works, but have we done that part of it to see if we can get money even just for this project?
We could definitely look at that as well. One of my board members had suggested looking at the Lloyd K. Johnson Foundation as well for some funding. And that's certainly, I think at the end of the day, just looking at the past history, this is something that the EDA just did. Actually, I should take back, that was done with one of the medical foundations here in the community back in 2015. And then I think the EDA suggested they were gonna pay the full share of that. I look at this as both housing, which is really critical and important, but also it's also a matter of economic development because we're creating something potentially with tax base, we're creating new jobs in the community, new opportunities for more housing and things of that nature. And so, the answer is we could just do this, that we have that within our budget. I felt it was important as partners to share in this, and that way we both have good information that we can use together. I don't wanna own this myself, I think this is something that the EDA and the HRA shares. And I think our community shares, is good information that we can use.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I don't want us to do this jointly.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, maybe we need to find more money to do a little bit more robust or whatever.
Mhm.
Or if you want
Yeah.
to save money, cause you said we may or may not be able to have whatever for phase 2, maybe this is a way to kinda
Mhm.
for that. That's all, just trying to remember to do that more than we do.
Unfortunately, the reality is that we have assisted living facilities in our communities across the state that actually should be still open that are closing. And so part of this is kind of gonna be information that we won't have had at any one point before. And so I'm kind of cautious in that regards because I wanna make sure that we can do this. I'm really hopeful that we can do this.
I mean, the reason we're having this conversation, of course, is because it's not just a housing activity, it is truly economic development. Now, the memo says from 70 to 100 senior housing units with some concentration in assisted living and memory care. You may not know this off the top of your head, and that's okay, but there's probably a ratio of units to employees in these organizations. I'd be curious to know just what that is, because this has got to result in net employment gain.
So that I haven't gotten into yet. That figure that you just quoted, that comes specifically from our housing study, the HRA that we did in 2022. And so that is another snapshot in time that's still valid, still has a lifespan to about 2027. But what it does is it gives us that we should be heading in that direction. It's another waypoint for us to kind of say, I think we're headed in the right direction.
Sure, and whatever number that ends up landing on,
Mhm.
there's gonna be some relation between employment, probably new employment,
Yep.
and the number of units that ultimately comes to realization, so it's good.
So, obviously, assisted living facilities are viable, they're all over the place, some are closing, but the discussion last time was critical size. I think developers look for 60 plus in this community. We probably can't support 60, we were looking at like a 25 or 30 bed facility. So, but, you could probably make up part of that difference with grant money. We have a free land, we can give them, we've got IRRB that have been very generous with infrastructure, for instance, so, and if they do a tax abatement, there's some vehicles that could buy down the cost, because of a size restriction, my belief, but we'll know that when we get the study done a little more.
So timing is in the summer, so that would be the 2026 budget, Commissioner Shackleton. Of course, we didn't necessarily budget for this, but do you feel that it can be contained?
Yes, we have the cash. handle something like this, no problem.
Kind of get to your question, when I was in the legislature, I remember there was a memory care request to the Capital Investment Committee for Slayton, Minnesota. They need memory care in southwestern Minnesota. And there's not one of the city administrators is a friend of mine, and so I signed on to the bill as a co-author of the bill to give it that bipartisan legs that it needed. It didn't inevitably get funded in 2023 or 2024, but it's another opportunity for us to find money is through our legislators as well. Yeah.
Any other discussion? Oh, Commissioner Anderson.
Yeah, I mean, I just noticed, there's a moratorium on building new nursing homes in Minnesota. And if you want to, get an exception to that, you have to apply for it, by December 18th of 2025. So I just wanna make sure someone has done that process if we're wanting to be considered for
This isn't a nurse, would be a
the
nurse.
future.
Yeah, to be clear, we have a nursing home in the community that's run by the hospital, and we're just, what this would do is expand the continuum of care. We try our best to keep people in their homes as long as they can, because that's the safest, the most familiar, and the most cost-friendly way of doing the healthcare. But when they can't keep their medicine straight, or when they just can't take care of themselves, or maybe their house is a multi-story, then it's when we start having to kind of get that next continuum of care. And that would be assisted living. This is conversation, or some independent housing, that sort of thing, which also is kind of this conversation. And then at some point, maybe they move to a hospital, which we have in our community. But one thing that we don't really have too much of is access to hospice, and that's another part of the continuum of care. And so this kind of gives us more of an opportunity to talk about the assisted living part of it, but somewhat different than the nursing home side. Which I'm hopeful will dovetail and be compatible and not so much competition.
Well, there's a high demand for beds in the care center, as well as staff, so hopefully it's all gonna be synergistic, but
Mhm.
competitive, I would be surprised at.
Any other discussion? It's been a good one. Okay. So there has been a motion that's been seconded. We'll do a roll call vote on resolution 2025-45 authorizing 7250 cost share with the HRA for the study. Anderson.
Aye.
Thank you. Benson.
Aye.
Mills.
Aye.
Bibi Gudice.
Aye.
Hedstrom.
Aye.
Shackleton.
Aye.
Clissold is an aye. Motion carries. Okay, next up.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Next item up is item 6B. This is a simple one, or I certainly hope it is. It's in your agenda packet, pages 24 through 25. This is adoption of our 2026 regular meeting schedule. We'll continue with the third Tuesday of each month. And if Mayor Benson is willing, here at Grand Marais City Hall, which is a fantastic facility. There's no known conflicts with holidays for all of these dates, and so we shouldn't have any exceptions for 2026. So with that, is there a motion to approve 2025-46, adoption of the 2026 regular meeting schedule?
I'll make a motion for resolution 2025-46.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Anderson,
Aye.
Benson,
Aye.
Mills,
Aye.
Bibi Gudice,
Aye.
Hedstrom,
Aye.
Shackleton,
Aye.
Clissold is an aye, motion carries. We'll skip down to item 6D. We'll spend the next couple of resolutions talking about the golf course. This is resolution 2025-48, and this is for the employment agreements for the salaried staff at Superior National at Lutsen. So included in the packet pages 27 through 54 are the 2026 employment agreements. And this is for the 4 salaried staff at SNL. As you might recall, we went through this last year. The EDA board approves annually these employment agreements. In 2025, as you probably don't recall, there were 5 salary positions. But we've got 1 person who has resigned effective at the end of this calendar year, and that work will be absorbed by the hourly staff. So the agreements contained in the packet are actually consistent with last year's. 2 changes, 3% COLA increase over 2025, and a new section 1.3, that authorizes the termination of employment upon any sale of the golf course, as the new owner, as you'd expect, would enter into a new employment agreement with these 4 individuals at their choosing. Give you a second to look at that.
I'll make a motion for resolution 2025-48.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Okay. Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Anderson?
Aye.
Thank you. Benson?
Aye.
Mills?
Aye.
Bibi Gudice?
Aye.
Hedstrom?
Aye.
Shackleton?
Aye.
Clissold is an aye. So 2025-48 passes unanimously. Next item is item 2025-49, resolution 2025-49. This regards the winter operations for SNL. You'll find a material that's largely been prepared by the governing authority at SNL, pages 55 through 58. Mike Larson has worked closely with the salary staff and the Board of Governors just last month to finalize this proposed winter operations plan. Included in there is a memo from NSDC and the Board of Governors that kind of highlights what that plan is. But in large measure, it is, as we saw last year with operation of the clubhouse, and specifically the restaurant. There's also, I think, a pro forma in there for anticipated revenues and cost of goods. It's essentially a wash for the winter, but importantly keeps the staff engaged. And I think true to what we need to do with our new buyer, it's business as usual, so that the buyer receives business as intended. Is there a motion to approve 2025-49?
Make a motion for that.
Thank you. Is there a second? Support. Appreciate that. Discussion or questions? Okay. Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Anderson?
Aye.
Benson?
Aye.
Mills?
Aye.
Bibi Gudice?
Aye.
Hedstrom?
Aye.
Shackleton?
Aye.
Clissold is an aye. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, next up, and it's our last one for Superior National, is 2025-50, and this is a resolution authorizing the 2026 professional services agreement with Mike Larson. And you'll find that in your packet, pages 59 through 68. The EDA, as you would be aware, has contracted with Mike in 2024 and 2025, and as you can see, proposing to do that again in 2026. 2025, there was 2 separate agreements, one for management and oversight of the golf course generally, and a second separate one, and FEMA, and a separate second one for the sale of the golf course. This is just one agreement. You'll notice that it goes through the 1st of May and would be renegotiated if the golf course hasn't sold by then or doesn't sell. 2 key caveats to that statement, however, and that is the continuing management of both the what are expected to be escrowed funds for the irrigation system, as well as the septic, neither of which will be complete by the 1st of May. So Mike, in short, Mike will be on the hook to manage both of those projects past the sale date and past the 1st of May.
I'll make a motion for resolution
Support.
2025-50.
Okay, thank you. Comments or questions?
Well, it's just, there'll be a lot of work, and Mike has really stepped up and done a lot of work. There's a lot to it, the sale, plus managing the golf course, plus uncovering a couple of the issues here. And then we also have to look, what if the sale falls apart? We still have to run the golf course, so we have to have all that in place. So I endorse, I'm glad that Mike can do this. I think he's looking for an exit ramp, but kind of knows he's the guy on the spot, so he's assented to do this, and I'm happy to support that.
Yeah, well, as you have seen, I too, the level of involvement, especially now, it's peaking and will be like that for some time until some of these issues get resolved. It hasn't been an easy run, but he's been with us the entire time, which is terrific. Other comments? Or?
Yeah, I just wanted to express my gratitude to Mike and his willingness. Really puts us in a much stronger position for a sale, and you can't hold us without it. So
great, thank you. So with that, then we can move on to a roll call vote. Commissioner Anderson.
Aye.
Nice. Benson.
Aye.
Mills.
aye.
Bibi Gudice.
Aye.
Hedstrom.
Aye.
Shackleton.
Aye.
Clissold is an aye. Motion carries. Okay, next item, G, is regarding One Roof Community Housing subordination request. And you'll find some background information in pages 69 through 71 in the packet. And Teresa and I received a request from One Roof Community Housing just a couple of weeks ago to see if we would consider allowing them to borrow against the equity in the Four Directions dwelling property here in Lutzen. So this would enable them to buy a new office building in Duluth without bringing cash to closing. Just by FYI, they're currently leasing from the city of Duluth, but they've been notified by the city that there's a non-renewal on their lease, so they need to find somewhere. So we worked with Freiberger, Mia in particular, to better understand what the tails are to this possible transaction. We initially thought it would simply be a resolution and it would be down the road motors, but there are more complexities to this. A resolution in and of itself won't be enough. It's likely that we would have to amend the development agreement, take this in front of the Cook County Board of Commissioners, among other things. Mia hasn't done a deep dive into the legal requirements. Our intent is to get the feeling of the board first before One Roof starts to incur some legal expenses to get this done properly and fully vetted. It's also recommended that, depending on how this conversation goes, that we get the temperature of the Cook County Commissioners, or at least administrator, again, before One Roof starts to burn money on legal advice and paperwork. From my perspective, One Roof is a terrific partner here. They do wonderful work. So my predisposition is certainly to support them. Legal expenses, they would need to own that. And so although there's a few steps that would need to be gone through, that would largely be on them to do it. But I think we should at least continue on this path. But in any case, that is kind of where we are with One Roof. And
It does not require action.
well, looking for feedback, because we'll be able to give them feedback as to whether it's worth pursuing.
I won't be here going forward, but I certainly support this. Like you said, they've been a good partner, and I can't even remember, it's been quite a few years since they did that development. They've got to have quite a bit of equity in that, so I mean, it's not going to be high risk. And I assume we're roped in because of the bonds and and how that was financed, so.
That's exactly right. The only risk that we've been able to uncover thus far, and it doesn't seem like a high probability, but that is that one roof goes BK and that property ceases to become the housing that it currently is. So that, there is a downside there, but I think the upside in keeping them engaged and a good partner in Cook County outweighs it personally.
I always relied a lot on Scott Harrison when we were doing all this stuff, because he was really good at financial stuff, and he did a dive into Redwood, One Roof, and he said, there's no worry there, they are very solvent as an entity, they were very well managed.
Very well managed,
Yes.
exactly right.
So, there's not much risk, there's no risk there.
Okay. Any other comments or thoughts? Commissioner?
I'm having crazy deja vu because I thought maybe we, the EDA, did not, but the county board, I think, had already addressed this. Yeah, so I'm just
Not my
I'm
understanding,
looking through the,
but-
unless I'm just completely, well, I'm certainly completely confused, but, just trying to clear that up. But
Okay.
anyways, I fully support it and the organization, and
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think what we might do is reach out to Kristen at the county for a similar conversation, because it eventually will go to the county commissioners. And as I say, we don't want one roof to be burning legal expenses if it's gonna be a problem up
Yeah.
front, so. Okay.
perhaps it was just a conversation with Jeff. Okay, that's fine, okay. So we didn't, I just talked to Jeff, it was an action.
Commissioners Beebe, Gudice, and Anderson, any comments or questions?
I support the request, that's all.
Thank you. Sorry.
I was just gonna ask, as part of Freiberger's work with us, do they do any compliance, any look at their current state with one roof? I mean, I assume that's what they're doing. Do they look at any of their current financials
Well,
as part of this, or no?
Cook County, our legal is Freiberger, and we've
Yeah.
advised One Roof that they'll need to find different legal counsel to avoid a conflict if they
That
want
is what
to.
I meant, sorry.
Sorry.
Didn't say it very well. I just meant when we asked Freiberger as our counsel,
Mhm.
did they look at where One Roof is right now in the current world of everything? Or
From
that
a
is what
risk-
we asked for? Yeah,
No,
okay.
I don't know if that question was asked specifically.
Well, the Freiberger, Botofty, put together this, I mean, forever, I know how old he is, because he's older than me.
Well,
Is that
What?
Botofty? Has been the expert on these, all these bonds and all that stuff, and now he's retiring and Mia is taking that over, so I have no idea who you'd go to assess, all this bond complexity, if not, Freiberger. So whether we engage them directly or through the county, I think there's a way to do that, and I don't know if, the attorneys are good at, telling you if there's conflict, so I wouldn't worry about that, let them worry about that.
Is your question more about financial health?
Just doing due diligence currently in our
I-
current
we could-
state and where
right, I
everything's heading.
You would think that their financial health would be looked at the closing of a purchase of the building too, so if there was some kind of red flags, you would think that probably would fall apart. I'm-
I'll give you Scott's phone number if you're
Yeah.
concerned.
okay, good. Well, I know that Teresa's on the call, taking her own copious notes, and so we'll reconvene after this meeting and then look at next steps as it relates to both One Roof and in Cook County. Thank you, good feedback,
Gotcha.
appreciate it. Okay, so that takes us then to item H. It's a resolution, 2025-51. Support for the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources Transportation Alternatives Program grant application for the Gitchigami State Trail Extension. And this is in the packet, pages 72 through 75. We actually received a request from the Minnesota DNR simply seeking a letter of support for their grant application with the Transportation Alternatives Program, TAP, for Gitchigami. So Teresa has drafted a wonderful recommendation letter, but we won't send it out until we pass this resolution.
Motion to support, resolution 2035-51.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on this one? I'd say pretty straightforward. All right, I'll do a roll call. Commissioner Anderson,
Aye.
Benson,
Aye.
Mills,
Aye.
BB Gudice,
Aye.
Max Hedstrom,
Aye.
Shackleton,
Aye.
Clissold is an aye. 2025-51 passes. Okay, this next one, 2025-52. You'll find this in your packet, pages 76 through 78. And this is a resolution authorizing application and, upon approval, acceptance of a grant from the Department of Iron Range Resources and Rehabilitation for an amount not to exceed $145,000 to support infrastructure improvements for the Sisu and Loli expansion. And so this is, as we've seen in some grants previously, the EDA working to prepare the grant application and managing the process for this activity, but not making an investment directly.
I would move this resolution.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Questions or comments, discussion?
This came up at the chamber because they were looking for support from the chamber as well. We've had a long discussion about it, but I know both Sam and
Katie.
Katie. They run a nice business. They're fairly new to the community, but saunas are very popular. They run a very nice business. They seem to, it's all online. They get a lot of traffic there. It's just a good young family to have in the community, and just the kind of stuff I like to see. It's really economic development, because this is really a service to the community, and they're seem to be doing well.
Yeah, typically the IRRR only works on public-owned projects, but they do have a means to support
They do.
private up to 145, which is
Yeah.
what this is for.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I was extremely skeptical of the project originally when they first purchased, and didn't support the use of short-term rentals or funding for that, and so that was excluded from the project, but they've blown me away with what they've accomplished and their community participation, and just do really good work. So.
Terrific. Okay, we have a motion and a second and a discussion, so we'll go to a vote, a roll call. Commissioner Anderson,
Aye.
Benson,
Aye.
Mills,
Aye.
BB Gudice,
Aye.
Hedstrom,
Aye.
Shackleton,
Aye.
and Clissold is an aye. So 2025-52 passes unanimously. Okay, now taking us to the conflict of interest policy review and questionnaire renewal. As you might recall, we do this each and every year. Included in your agenda packet of this material, pages 79 through 83. So EDA employees and commissioners are to review the conflict of interest policy and submit a signed questionnaire annually. This is required for our annual financial audit, and it's also best practice. At the November meeting, commissioners discussed the previous questionnaire was perhaps confusing and didn't necessarily cover all the relevance to what we do here at the EDA, and requested a fillable form, something a little more user-friendly. So NSDC, Teresa, has provided an updated questionnaire form that hopefully has some clearer language, as well as at least a visual look of what that could look like from a fillable standpoint that could be completed electronically. So what we'd like to do is kind of just discuss your reactions to this, any feedback you want to send back to NSDC.
Is this looking forward or back?
forward.
Good, I'll stay out of it then.
Oh, we'd love your feedback.
He's abstaining.
I don't have a conflict.
Really, really good improvements, I think.
Thank you.
I have a couple thoughts.
Please, Alex.
Yeah, good improvements. Just a clarification about process. Well, going back a little bit, I poked around in some previous conflict of interest policies for the EDA, and all the ones I could find reference the state statute that kind of sets the tone for what these should look like, and they do refer to that statute in their conflict of interest policy. So I would recommend at least referring to the statute that kind of governs economic development conflict of interest policies. It's 469.098. So that's just one kind of clerical thing that I think we should add. The second thing is just about process. This document and others identify a step-by-step process of what a person or a commissioner should do in the event of a conflict, actual or potential, and then what the board does, right? There's a process from disclosing to investigating, addressing, etc. I don't think in the past, with my own personal experience on this organization, on this board, I think I just said I had a conflict, maybe verbally or via email, and then it was acknowledged at some point. I just want to ask the group how much the process matters, if we're happy just signing this document and acknowledging that we all understanding it and move forward, or if we want to look at the process of identifying and disclosing and investigating potential conflict of interest. There's a lot that this process says that hasn't been done in the past year. And I'm not saying one way or the other is what I want to do, but I think we should pick one way.
You broke up right at the end there, Alex, and I think we caught the majority of what you intended to say.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not suggesting one path or the other, but I'd just like maybe a little more direction on the process of declaring and processing a conflict of interest on the board.
Mr. President?
Please.
Yeah, I am very open to talking more about, what is it, section 3 there with the process. The lack of following it, I'd like to learn more about that too. Some of it's maybe largely during times of transition, but I certainly, if there are, we'll be liable if or individuals are liable if this isn't followed. So I think we should talk more about that. I think we should include it, of course, too. But I greatly appreciate the suggestion for the statute reference. I think that's important.
Yeah, regarding
Is that what you're
process.
asking? Or, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. Regarding process, in my, I guess, year and a half or so on the board, the only time that I've seen conflicts come up is during business development grant fund applications, where someone on the grant subcommittee perhaps has a relationship with a grantee, okay, that makes sense, an applicant at least, steps off the committee for that application, an alternate comes in, and that grant application then gets reviewed and presented to the board, at which point that same commissioner doesn't vote on it. So that's been my limited experience. It seems to have worked pretty well. What I haven't been confronted with is any conflicts outside of the small business grant funds yet. In fact, I'm having a bit of a difficult time imagining what even those would look like. But
Well, a spouse working, for something we're paying for, an employee, that sort of thing, we have to recuse ourselves and that kind of vote. But yeah, it's a small town, I mean, it's hard not to have conflicts here and there, but
Sure.
this sounds good.
I would, if I could,
Please.
there are a couple of thoughts. I think you're absolutely right. The grant program is where it comes up probably the most. And in this proposed policy, there's I think a section that just kind of dictates how a person with a conflict participates, doesn't participate in a deliberation on the conflict in question. And I can't, but however, in former policies on this, the EDA has allowed the member with a conflict, they don't deliberate or vote, but they're available to answer questions on the matter or state matters of fact. I found that very interesting because it does provide a member an opportunity to disclose a fact that other members without a conflict may or may not know. So again, not suggesting we go one way or the other, but that does, I think, allow for the presentation of factual information from a member with a conflict without affecting necessarily the deliberation or offering an opinion. So that's the difference I've seen in past EDA conflict policies. However, a statute says something completely different, and it says a member with a conflict may not even be present for the deliberations on the matter with which they have a conflict. So I think we need to dial this in a little bit more. There's just some cross-referencing between the statute and this policy. I think that maybe we need to do a little better job on.
I agree. I've been in situations where, yes, you leave the room. And I think that's only appropriate. And I think it's even more appropriate, for as Howard was saying, in a small community, to
Leave the town? Leave the town? Is that?
The room.
leave the room. I mean, for the things Howard said, we're a small, everybody knows everybody, so it makes it even easier if you just physically leave the room.
Yeah.
And if that's what they're asking, then I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I guess the downside there, and
So-
I'm personally willing to accept that downside, is that in this hypothetical that Alex has painted, that fact wouldn't be shared with the other commissioners because that person had been asked to leave the room or elected to leave the room. It gets into a bit of a gray area between sharing fact and advocating for the approval of something. It's probably safer to leave the room, to extract yourself, full stop.
I mean, it would eliminate, heavy staring or, the influence, non-verbal influence could be there too.
Well, and you'd like to think that most of the facts are out there, that there isn't something, I mean, and at that point, I would certainly, if someone felt like, oh my gosh, you're really missing something, I think we'd entertain it. Or a written thing,
Yep.
if it was that. But,
Mr. President, we have Siri.
Oh, Commissioner Anderson?
Yeah, so, I mean, I think, the situations, can be so varied. So for instance, my family has a property in Luton that would be benefited by that trail. Should I have not voted in favor of the Gitche County, thing, or should I have left the room for that? I mean, it's not my property, but I mean, it's such a small town and so many layers of ways we could see the thing. So I don't know. I like the idea that facts can be included.
I don't think that's a concern. If your relative was selling some property that benefited financially, that would be much closer, but just having an amenity, voting on an amenity, I mean, we all are benefiting from that, so it's really not a concern of mine.
The other, because of some inconsistencies, I guess, with state statute, I think it's pretty important that we follow the law. And so if there's things we need to incorporate in the policy, I think we really need to do that. I haven't heard of the leave the room before, so
Right.
it makes a lot of sense.
If that's the law, then
Yeah.
we would need to follow it.
Yeah,
The other thing about statement of fact, I think once someone discloses a conflict of interest, wouldn't it be helpful if they themselves disclose the facts of the conflict
I heard there was cake.
in a document form?
You're not late, you're good.
And so then it's all written down for everyone else to see. Here are the facts. And then that person doesn't need to be present.
yeah.
Good discussion. I think, as I say, Teresa's on this webinar, so she's copying this down. I'm sure we'll see another iteration. So, thank you. Alex?
Mr. President, yeah.
Oh, yeah, a similar, obviously the same topic, but the other, I think, component, this isn't tied to the statute, but it's, perceived conflict of interest, and I think that's especially relevant in a small town, small community such as ours. The perception of a conflict, and there's lots of stuff out there that kind of explains that a little bit more, but, just the idea that a person may benefit from a proceeding because they might, for instance, share the last name of a company that's applying for EDA support. No relevant interest, but this is an example of our 2 meetings ago, Commissioner Hestrom clearly stated he had no financial interest in his lumber company anymore, even though he had the name, and we heard a presentation from the current representative on the EDA service we provide, and that's all good. But that's following the process, right? It's like avoiding the perception even by just clearly stating I'm divested or I'm not working for, I'm not involved with the company anymore, but here it is, and they have a request of us. So if I might ask North Shore Development Co. is maybe to include maybe a heading on this that addresses the perceived conflict of interest idea as well. That's something that's common throughout conflict of interest policies in many different industries, many different organizations as well.
Thanks, Alex. Okay, good discussion. All right, that's going to take us to committee and commissioner reports. We're saving item 6C for the last. We'll start with Taconite Harbor Subcommittee, the strategic plan. I'll take that because Tracy's staring at me. Our third meeting is actually tomorrow night. It's getting in the way of my 2-person curling league, but be that as it may, it'll be focused largely on the environmental attributes of the space. Just as a reminder, our first meeting was largely introductory, the process, what do we want to get out of the committee. The second meeting was looking at the geology and the topography of Taconite Harbor. As I say, this upcoming meeting tomorrow is environmental impacts. So these meetings have been largely downloads up until now from Stantec to the committee members. After this meeting, going into January, we'll transition into whiteboarding and starting to imagine what can become of this property, and it'll be a few meetings in the making. So that's where we stand currently on the subcommittee for Stantec. I did see that Teresa reached out to Stantec just to make sure that they're tracking on the grant amount, which you might recall was $200,000, so that the expenditures that they've incurred thus far are where they should be vis-a-vis the process and the deliverables. So making sure that we keep them honest and we don't blow through the 200 before we have a vision on the table. That is Taconite Harbor.
Is it going along well as far, it had a mandatory participation?
From what I can tell, it's been 100% participation so far, which is great. And I would say perhaps a quarter to a third of the 15 people are asking lots of questions, getting fully engaged, and even those that aren't, you can see that the camera's on and they're they're in the meeting, they're not doing something else. So, as I said before, I think it's a good group that you've selected. Quite diverse, but they're all, to varying degrees and for varying reasons, invested in Taconite Harbor. So to your question, the attendance has been good.
Minnesota Power have a role in this?
They do. Yeah, they've played a role in these last couple of meetings. Whether they'll be there for some of this visioning, that I couldn't tell you, but they've been quite engaged.
Good.
Of course, not of course, but Cleveland Cliffs has not at all been part of these meetings.
Right.
And we had supplied them, as you know, with a very extensive contact list for organizations and governments and just everybody for them to utilize to get information. And of course, we know like county employees are very interested in providing their expertise. Just as one example, are we seeing that traction? And we've sent emails out to Stantec to make sure they're, well, and they did ask us, well, they sent me anyways, a list of some other contacts they wanted for information, and I gave it all, and I also said a lot of these are on this list already. Are you utilizing this list? I mean, it's not just those 15 people, there's a lot of people in this community that want to add to this, including our IRRR representative is very interested in participating in this. So just want to make sure they're, and that was one way of also keeping costs down. I didn't want them to have to dig this all up.
Sure.
So
Yeah, my exposure to what Stantec is doing currently is strictly through, I'm one of 15 on the committee,
Right.
so I can't say that,
and
some
the
of what.
topics didn't really fit to that yet.
Yeah.
I don't think.
I mean, it's possible that some of what they presented to us has been sourced from some of these sources, but I can't tell you that necessarily.
Okay.
Can't. Any other questions on taconite? Okay, that takes us to the golf course and the sale update. And you want to talk about a full-time job. So the due diligence is currently set to expire on the 19th of December. I know that Mike was meeting with Frank at SVN Northco just yesterday. We should be expecting, I would think, another extension to the due diligence. If for no other reason, then we're still investigating the irrigation fix and what that'll cost, and have just begun. We're about 3 or 4 weeks behind irrigation on the septic. So there's some big items that need to get resolved as the seller, but we've got a motivated buyer who thus far has not been scared off by some of these challenges so far, and seems to be fully engaged. So I don't have a prediction yet on a closing date. I think the flowers will be poking up through the ground though before we're putting ink to paper. So we've got quite a ways to go, and again, it's one of the reasons we've got Mike on board at least through the 1st of May.
Good.
What have I missed, Howard?
I think that's it. I just last meeting of course, but the septic was something new, but there's a couple processes there. I still believe that the difference between the sales price and the bond payoff will give sufficient funds to cover both those costs of the irrigation fix and the septic fix. And from a buyer standpoint, I mean, best case scenario, you get uncovered any problems and they're all fixed. So, or assurance to get fixed. So that should be all fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does show how fortuitous though we are in terms of the timing of when we decided to sell this and move forward, because the alternative is not selling this.
The alternative would be us taking our hat in our hand to the county board and saying we need $300,000-$400,000 to fix these couple problems. So how would you accept that proposal?
We'd let Commissioner Knowles take that message forward.
Yeah. So
I would be like, what'd you say?
Any questions on the golf course? Okay, seeing none. The grant review committee, if anything,
I can take that one.
please.
So, this recent updates, we've been grateful to North Shore Development Co. for helping us craft the scoring rubric that we looked over last week and provided some feedback. So we have a kind of working document to utilize come the first deadline, February 1st, I think it is 2026. It's a working document that will continue to improve, but it's a great step forward. The second part of that is North Shore Development Co. has also been really great in providing us with an overview of how they'll support the first grant cycle, communications with applicants, communications with the board, how things will happen and all that. So we have a good, I think, plan moving into the new year with the Business Development Fund program based on the changes we've made in the last 3 months.
Thanks, Alex, and I understand that the Cook County, oh, sorry, Commissioner Anderson, go ahead.
Just want to add that the St. Kate's cost benefit analysis of the grant program was completed, and I attended 2 hours of presentations about different sectors of the economy in Cook County and how they have been supported by that grant program. I'll be sharing those results at our January meeting, and I think some interesting and positive insights about the return on investment were fun to hear.
Great, thank you. And Commissioner Mills, the Cook County Commissioners voted on, I understand, today and approved the budget for 2026.
Yep, the EDA budget as presented.
Any changes?
No changes.
As submitted?
Yes,
Yeah,
as
which is
submitted. There
important.
were a couple mentions of the Business Development Grant Fund, and concerns about that being on the levy. And I didn't know this detail, but there was no revolving loans this past year, and that's probably largely because of grants. That's a supposition, at least. I explained the idea is that it's all going to be kind of a one set of tools, one toolbox to be able to use the different tools and how they're best applied. We're just not there yet, so. But it wasn't not a whole lot of discussion around that, but it was brought up a couple times.
Thank you. Well, good work in securing the budget because of all the work done for the grant review program. Shame not to have any money.
Yeah, wasn't it all me? It was all the team. So thank you for your work and yeah.
Okay, that takes us into the HR committee. Any update there? I understand that the executive director job posting is now live. It looks great. Local media has received the information. League of Minnesota Cities, EDA, Indeed, I understand. And in talking to Teresa this afternoon, I think there's actually been a couple of applicants already, not necessarily ones that we'll pursue, but the system is at least working and we're getting input. So.
One of them was mine. Just
You were testing again? Well, and Alex made some great contributions for some changes, or additions, I should say, for our interview process. So that's good. Fine tuning still, going on.
Okay, good. Okay, County Commissioner vacancy and residency. So we talked about residency last month, and just as a reminder, we've got 7 commissioners, 3 from Grand Marais, 4 from Cook County. The Grand Marais commissioners, as defined by Grand Marais, means they are city residents, but it wasn't clear that the 4 Cook County commissioners would be from Cook County outside of Grand Marais, and our position was to ensure the diversity of commissioners on this board, that yes, we want 3 from Grand Marais and 4 from the county, but that means those 4 from the county aren't in Grand Marais. We prepared some documentation for Kristen. I understand it was discussed and voted on at the county commissioners today, so that was approved, which is great. Thank you. I think that means it'll come back to us and we can firm it up on our side.
well, funny story. it's still it's still kind of flexible. Like, there isn't a state statute, our county attorney could not find a state statute that
Yeah.
makes it this or that way, and so, you know, it's largely, I think the language that I really appreciated was giving weight and consideration to the geographical location, and so, yeah, so that's what our intentions are, but say for instance, we have a commissioner that lived in Hoveland and moved to Grand Marais,
Sure.
you know, it's all fine, it's just how we intend the makeup of the board to be, try to get that diverse representation.
So what is that, like, then did the county have to make a resolution on that? Is that how it is? Okay.
Yeah, I think our attorney spent probably about 20 or 25 hours on it. No, I'm kidding, that's a little joke, right? But there are resources.
Where did she find that?
And we're down in an assistant attorney right now too, so.
Yeah.
But no, there was some good thought put into it, and I really appreciate, you know, Peter reaching out and going through the steps.
Yeah, I think it probably was obvious to everyone in the moment when this all got set up, and then later on you go, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing to clarify.
No, and even now, it's like, you know,
Yeah.
it's flexible-ish.
It's aspirational.
Sure, yeah, that's what we're aiming for. But it's, like, the language was not as firm as I expected, which is, I don't know, I'm comfortable, you'll see. See how you feel about it.
So what does it mean for the city side of things, Mayor Benson?
I don't know. I mean, we have our thing, and that's, you know, and that's an interesting thing, if it's not that, okay, so remember, if somebody from the city applies for this, they have to apply through the city. Remember, it's kind of confusing and whatever.
Right.
So if, the same thing, if you guys are flexible over there, but you'd still be the ones taking that application, not the city.
And making the appointment,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
like the county board would be, yeah, so it's just kind of interesting.
I guess my question was, is the city also flexible in that, I guess, aspect of people who apply for vacancy?
No, and that was never a question. We have that
Okay.
residency requirement in there, so the answer is no. But I think that gets back to the original intent of this whole board, was we wanted representation within the county. So if the county's gonna take city residents, well, I guess that's their thing. But if
Right.
they get foils the actual intent. Or you could say, do you really want the whole board made up of, an extreme of Grand Marais residents, and I think the rest of the county would go, probably not. But that would be the extreme.
Kind of my argument was the level of interest has waxed and waned, so it's nice to have flexibility, but I agree with Mayor Benson, I think that would not be popular if we went that route, but sometimes it's hard to fill seats, you know, so.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Alex asked that an additional item be added. This is the time to do it, and that is SBDC. Alex?
Sure, I just, on this agenda, there's no update from the consultants, the small business development consultant, and last month there wasn't either, and the contract or member MOA, I think, expires end of December 2025, so with those three kind of facts in mind, I was just curious what the plan for was in 2026, seeing how we haven't seen a renewal for the current consultant. There's been a discussion about maybe shifting some duties into the director role. Mainly just wanted to get a sense of the direction for the consultant role. It's a pretty important part of our community, and a lot of people rely on that to start their businesses and keep them running.
Sure, no, I'll take that. Thanks, Alex. I've been working with Northland, a couple of points. Northland has agreed where necessary to fill the gap in early 2026 with our existing clients, to marry up their other SBDC consultants as necessary with existing clients for continuity. I don't see that necessarily continuing for very long, because I don't think we're going to need to. We do have 4 applicants for the SBDC consultant position in 2026, at least 2 of which I think are highly qualified. I've been keeping Mayor Benson appraised of who those applicants are, and if the HR committee wishes to interview them, I think we should go ahead and do so. Failing that, I can work with Northland on finalizing the selection of a consultant. The good news is we won't have much of a gap, I don't believe, in 2026. That which we do have, as I say, will be filled by Northland.
Is there and looking at our website, there's no, and I don't think there has been a listing for this open job or this job for 2026. So it sounds like there's been an informal recruitment process or people have just been applying, but what's being done to recruit ideal candidates for this job?
Well, I can speak on behalf of myself, and I've been reaching out to business leaders in the community. Some have reached out to me, understanding the position has become available. So we're not actively marketing it, but we have, as I say, valid, qualified applicants already for the position.
Mr. President,
Please.
one of the other things is this is not an EDA position.
Right.
It's a contracted position and it's through not even the EDA, right? So
Well, yes and no. I mean, we've got a contract with Northland for this work.
yes,
And we in turn then, and this started last year at least, I can't speak to prior years, we in turn then have a memorandum of understanding with the consultant. So it goes from Northland to EDA, EDA to the consultant. Of course, Northland's paying all the money, and the SBDC is providing that infrastructure and the training and all the rest of it. So it isn't super clear or crisp, but that's
I think that Northland is looking to the EDA for advice on the
100%.
hire. And my bottom line over the years is that the consultant be based in Cook County or Grand Marais. I mean, there are communities that have the SBDC serviced by somebody in Two Harbors or Duluth, and that would be totally unacceptable to me. I mean, it's really important, I think, and our SBDC consultant has been a top performer in that whole system, so we have a good track record, and I think Northland appreciates the ability for the EDA to be that liaison, or it is a little loose, but it's important.
Sure, and we will not need to, I don't believe we're gonna need to make any sacrifices in terms of location of the individual or
Yeah.
experience or qualifications. But with
May
that,
I-
Alex, if the HR committee wants to make a more active role in this, step up and let's do that. As I say, I've got 4 applicants, and if the HR committee wants to interview them and have a voice, this is certainly the time to do so.
Sure, I would even go maybe back up a little bit here. I'm kind of taken a little aback that there's applications being received and held. So my request would be so that we fill our obligation to facilitate and provide service to our communities, that we be a little more aggressive in getting the word out. I'm a commissioner, and I wasn't quite sure until just now what was happening for 2026. When I applied for this appointment, it was purely based on the business resources that this organization provides to keep them going, to keep them available. So I think it's good to identify people in our community that might do well in this role, but I think it's also equally as good to get the word out there so that people that we might not know have information and a clear pathway on how to apply or find out more. It's really important. I missed about submitting a letter to the Board of Commissioners regarding the Business Development Fund program, but this is the only in-person consultant resource that people in Cook County have. There's dozens of online resources that you can sign up for. Some are free, some are not. So I'm passionate about this. I'd like to maybe take a more active role, the organization take a more active role in finding people that could fill this position as soon as possible.
Well, I concur, it needs to be publicly posted and circulated to get the best possible
Northland has done that.
applicants.
Yeah, I just don't think that they're not our employees, though.
That's, yeah.
Yeah, I think Northland,
Northland has
Should
done
take that
this. I just
initiative.
have to add this out. Northland has put the application out and has marketed on, why can't I think of the name of the site? That we all have our resumes on. What?
Or LinkedIn, or
LinkedIn. LinkedIn has had this from them, and Northland has been actively marketing this on their website, just so everyone knows that.
yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
All right, Mr. President, me too, just,
Speak to you. Who is that?
it's Pat Cabanero.
Oh, Pat,
Okay, got it. I got it. Sorry, I just can't see the room.
We had, a significant effort last go around, and there was a good pool of candidates, and but it's not like an infinite pool of candidates. So to hear that we have 4 applicants with 2 highly qualified at least gives me a lot of excitement versus starting the process again. And I agree with you, I want as well qualified and perfect of a person as possible in the position, but I don't know how to balance that with where we are in the process already. Like you're saying, stepping back, I'm,
What? Sorry.
no, I just get, no, I'm stuttering.
So my response is, I mean, maybe it's as simple as just including a listing for this position and linking them to Northland. I mean, it's listed as a resource on our website. I mean, I think we could easily at least put it on our website and direct those people to the hiring body.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we go launch a full recruitment plan, but I think at least just getting the word out that
Yeah.
this position is open and Northland is a hiring agency and we're here to help. That's what I'm getting at.
good point.
Okay, thank you.
Well said.
Thanks, Alex.
Okay, that takes us through most of the agenda. We've saved the best part for last. And for those with a packet, I would draw your attention to page 26. This is resolution 2025-47, a resolution honoring Howard Hedstrom for his years of service to the Cook County Grand Marais Joint Economic Development Authority. And if you'll allow me to read this in its entirety, and even if you don't, I'm going to do so. Whereas the Cook County Grand Marais Joint Economic Development Authority was established in 1988 by the Minnesota Legislature to promote economic and community development throughout Cook County. And whereas Howard Hedstrom was appointed to the EDA board in 2014 and has dedicated 12 years to the organization through 2025, providing institutional knowledge and a deep commitment to the economic vitality of Cook County. And whereas Howard's service to the EDA has been marked by thoughtful engagement, integrity, and a strong dedication to regional prosperity, drawing upon his experience as a local business leader, former owner of Hedstrom Lumber, and longtime advocate for responsible economic development. And whereas beyond his service to the EDA, Howard has been a key figure in the broader Cook County community, including leadership roles with the Cook County Chamber of Commerce and the Cook County Real Estate Investment Fund, working to advance local initiatives and support a strong business environment. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that the EDA Board of Commissioners hereby extends its gratitude and appreciation to Howard Hedstrom for his many years of outstanding public service, community leadership, and unwavering commitment to the mission of the EDA.
I'll need to hold my head up now.
So, I'm looking for a nomination for this resolution.
Oh, so moved.
All right, second?
A second.
All right. And we'll do a roll call.
Well, before, Mr.
Please,
President, I was
discussion.
just gonna say the list of accomplishments and participations, I thought was pretty short considering all that you've done.
I think it's
I
short
started,
too.
yeah. Started to try to think of all the other, and then I was like, okay, maybe that's just, we just draw the line, so, thank you.
There's only so much that could fit in one.
Yeah.
You wanna get this framed.
It needs to get framed.
So Howard, you've been, my short time on the board, you've been, a wonderful guide and mentor, and I appreciate it very much. So you're always welcome at these meetings.
Well, I never, when I first started, I told the group that I don't join boards to sit around and to hang out with nice people. I'm actually here to do some good and do good work, and, I like to think that over the years, there's been a lot of good work done. And I'm always happy to participate when the ball keeps getting moved forward, but it's, I've maybe not overstayed my welcome, but overstayed my, terms of service. Yeah, so thank you for being the board you are. It's been a really good experience to work with everybody here.
Thank you. And you might have noticed when you walked in the front door here that there's a lovely cake. Thank you so much, Pat, for bringing that in. Very thoughtful. All right, so we've got a motion and it's been seconded. I'll do one final roll call vote for 2025-47 honoring Howard Hedstrom. Commissioner Anderson.
Aye, aye.
Benson.
Aye.
Mills.
Aye.
Bibi Gudice. Off mic, Alex. Okay. Hedstrom.
Should I abstain? I don't know.
Right.
Get out of town.
Yeah, you gotta go to the room, don't you?
Yeah, I think.
Shackleton.
Aye.
And Clissold is an aye. Unanimous resolution passed. Good, congratulations.
Thank you.
So we'll adjourn the meeting at 5:35.
Should I make that motion?
Please.
Yeah.
Right. We'll see you, everybody, on the January the 20th of 2026. So if I don't see you, have a wonderful holiday.
Yeah.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks, Siri.
Happy holidays.